It's the year 2018. A journalist named Michael Jonas is interviewing a little girl and she's in front of the camera. It's a video. She's wearing a pink dress, low cut, and she looks like an actual child because she's 13. The little girl narrates how she suffered was abused in the hands of people that were meant to protect her. And this video was used as evidence in a case against one Mr. Andrew and Victor, a son, for defiling and raping her for 5 years. This is the case of Ochanya, the 13-year-old girl that was raped for 5 years from the age of 8 to 13. One led to her death. The case, how the perpetrators are still free till today, and what is going on right now, and also why this case came up again. Full disclaimer before we go into this case, please, we are going to be discussing very triggering topic. If you are sensitive or the words like SA of a minor, I am going to go in depth into this case. If it is very triggering for you, I suggest you don't watch this video. You can read up the resources. I'm going to link down there in the description box if you want to carry out your own detailed research. Also, all the information I'm going to be letting out in this video are readily available information on the internet. The court files and the court details of this case is not available to the public. It's not on the internet. So I am relying solely on reputable news media outlets, the testimonies from the affected family, and also what we've heard from the perpetrator's family. So with all of this said, let's get into the case. Ochanya was born in 2005 to a small family in Benue State. Ochanya grew up as a child in Ochanya Major Village in Opoku local government area of Benue State. Now, think of rural areas in Nigeria. I don't think Lagos. I'm talking about in the deep parts. Think of villages. That is exactly what you can describe this village that Ochanya grew up to be. This village lacked basic amenities, hospitals, roads, schools. It did not have any of that. And the only primary school that exists in this village literally doesn't run. There are no teachers, the infrastructures are done, they got little to no support from the government. So for students or for children to get an education, they have to walk at least 36 kilometers every day to other communities to get an education. For context, 36 kilometers is walking 5 to 6 hours at a normal pace. Imagine doing that every day as a child. Or let me give you another context. It's like walking from Lagos Island to Ikeja every day to get an education. That's how we say it is. Now, Ochanya wanted an education, and she did not just want any education, she wanted quality education, and her parents also wanted this for her. So, looking at the fact that there is no school in the community, the other best option was for her to go live with relatives in a town that had better education system, where the government was sending in support and funding to schools in that area. So Ochanya's parents, specifically her mother, her name is Ruth, so from now on I'm going to be mentioning Ruth, and that's Ochanya's mother. She has a relative that lives in a town in Benue. The name of the town is Ubokono. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But this is a relatively better town than where Ochanya's family house is. So Rose has a niece. Now, many reports called this niece Rose's sister, but she is Rose's niece and distant cousin to Ochanya. So she lived in Ubokolo, a more open and well-respected town that had the amenities that you needed to raise a child. So she decides to send Ochanya to live with this woman. But in the context of Nigeria, we're going to call this woman Ochanya's aunt, and real name is Florida. Ochanya goes to live in Florida at the age of 5 to get an education. So Ochanya's parents, Ochanya was getting the education. Now, Ochanya's dad highly respected this family because it's tradition, it's culture for you to respect your family members. Apart from that, they're also catering and taking care of their daughter, so they highly respected them. But they also did not remove support from Ochanya. They were sending money to Ochanya for education. They were ensuring that Ochanya was comfortable in the new town she was living in. They did not withdraw their support in whatsoever. Now, let's talk a little bit about Ochanya. There isn't a lot about her. She lived a very, very short life. Ochanya, like I said, wanted quality education, and she was a very good girl. Like, not textbook good girl. Like, she did the things that was expected of her. People described her as obedient, quiet. She was also quiet, but she was obedient, and she knew that she needed an education. She was also the last born of, I think, 11 kids. I can't confirm this information, but I saw a source that said she had 11 siblings and she was the last child. Well, we are going to the abuse, how the abuse started. Remember at the start of the video, I mentioned that Ochanya was narrating what happened and how she was abused. The abuse started at the age of 5. Ochanya narrated this herself about how she was constantly abused by Victor and Andrew. Faithful day when Victor went to sexually assault Ochanya. Victor was caught by his sister Winifred. Now, Winifred is a very important character in this story, and we are going to talk about her later. But just remember Winifred. So it was caused by Winifred, and Winifred did the right thing. She went to report to the adult, that is her mom and her dad. She immediately went to report because she knew that what she saw was wrong. I believe in the mind of poor Ochanya, she probably thought that this would finally put an end to the abuse she has been facing. Unknowing to her, it was going to get worse. Winifred goes to report, and her parents did the right thing at the time. They went to caution Victor, okay? Felicia and Andrew went to caution Victor, but instead of reporting to the police, they did not do that. They just decided to hush about it. Unknowing to Ochanya, this was going to be the start of Andrew also sexually assaulting her. For the next 5 years, both Victor and Andrew would take turns sexually assaulting Ochanya, both in her vagina and her anus, repeatedly. The essay that's so bad, it affected not only her mental state, but her physical state. She became a regular visitor to the hospital. So one fateful afternoon, Rose, that's Ochanya's mother, receives a phone call that Ochanya has been rushed to the hospital. And this really worried both Rose and her husband because it's their daughter. Their daughter is sick. And so they sent all the money they had. They kept on sending money for hospital tests. Send the money for tests, ensure she's better. Then maybe next week, Ochanya would get better and would return back to school. But one interesting detail is that every of the test results that were carried out were never sent to Ochanya's parents. It was only kept with Andrew and Felicia. They were the only ones holding on to the results. So Ochanya's parents were left in the dust. They just knew that their daughter was always getting sick, but they never knew exactly what it was. Apart from that, there's also the, would I call it negligence from the hospital, because Ochanya kept on getting misdiagnosed. They could not exactly tell what was wrong with Ochanya, but she was regularly visiting the hospital, or in school she regularly visited the sick bay. But as the years went by, Ochanya's condition continued to deteriorate. It wasn't getting better. She began to lose weight, and she began to lose control of her muscles in her rectum and vaginal area. She could no longer control her bladder, and bodily waste was coming out voluntarily. Like she could not. She was peeing and pooping herself. That was how bad it was. And the thing is, Ochanya's mom kept on making several demands to know what exactly was wrong with her daughter. But she was kept in, she wasn't getting responses. Felicia kept on holding on to whatever test results they got. So Ochanya's mom did not know exactly what was going on with Ochanya at the time. Who knows, if she had known, earlier medical attention would have been set in place, but they did not know. Mind I tell you that Florida knew exactly what was wrong with Ochanya. She knew that Ochanya was regularly abused and sexually assaulted in her home, and she made it hush-hush. She ensured that nobody speak about it. In fact, some reports said that she told Ochanya not to tell anybody about it. So she knew that her husband and her son were sexually assaulting her. And I also want to believe that Winifred, that is her daughter, also knew about it because she did report to her mother. But I feel like after seeing that her parents didn't do anything for Ochanya's behalf, she could have gone further to talk to, maybe report to a neighbor or report to a teacher or something. How did Ochanya's parents finally get to know about what happened to Ochanya? She eventually decides to speak up. There is a documentary that Paul's TV did, which I believe you should go watch. It's a very, very useful documentary that sits down with Ochanya's parents and detailed the whole experience, and they also gave their experience on this case. You should go watch it. I'll link it down in the description. Ochanya eventually reveals the truth to her father and her mother. She told them that both Andrew and Victor had been brutally essaying her in both her anus and her vagina regularly for the past 5 years. And respectfully and rightfully so, both parents were floored. They were taken aback. Ochanya's dad could not believe what he was hearing. In fact, after Ochanya told him, he called his other family members that come and listen to what Ochanya just told me. And she also narrated it again. And this is exactly what she told Julius, the journalist I mentioned at the beginning, where he recorded that, mentioning or where she stated that, yes, she was sexually abused by Andrew and Victor. I'm going to play this video. The video is, you probably have seen this video already, but I'm going to play this video for you to watch.
When I was 5 years old, I went to my mother's sister's house to school because there was no school in my village. So when I went there, when I was 8, the son started sleeping with me. Then when the sister caught him, the sister then reported him to the father. Then the father scolded at him, and that was when the father started. So September, when I went to school, I was not feeling fine, so I came back home. I went to Federal Medical Center in Makurdi here. I spent 2 months and 5 days there, so they discharged us. When I now came home, then that was when I told my mother that when I was in my uncle's house, my uncle and his son, they were sleeping with me.
After narrating the ordeal to her parents, and the parents being devastated about what happened, Ochanya's family goes to confront Andrew. And do you know what Andrew did? Andrew lied and said he was not involved in the sexual assault and threw his son under the bus. And he denied that he had nothing to do with the abuse. But Ochanya kept on mentioning his name, mentioning that Victor's father was also a part of the sexual assault. She also mentioned this in the video that you've seen already. In typical Nigerian culture, what they did was to come to Ochanya's family house with some elders to plead and beg. They brought some Agbaya elders to come and beg because they think, oh, it's one of those cases where we just wronged your daughter, please forgive us, one or two, and then they bring some Agbalagba people that they don't have sense, that should not beg, but they should chastise the father and the son for the horrible things they did to them. But Ochanya's family did not listen. Now, there's a live video of Ochanya's sister. You should also go and check her page. She narrates everything that happens, and you would see clips of it online. And she also mentioned this, that Andrew's family came to her family's house to come and plead and beg, and then they were also kind of being rude with it. And this just triggered them to go the legal way because they were not going to stand for their daughter being abused. Now, let's talk about Ochanya's health condition. Like I said, she lost control of her anus and her bladder, and she had to wear diapers for 4 months before she eventually died. It was later discovered that she has vesicovaginal fistula, VVF. This is a condition that causes a hole between the bladder and the vagina, leading to uncontrollable leakage of urine and feces. This is why Ochanya had to wear diapers for months before she passed on. Now, I do have to say that Ochanya was a very brave girl. She was a 13-year-old that mentioned her abuser's names. And people are saying that Ochanya's blood or her spirit is strong for the case to be reopened, or for the case to gain public attention again 7 years after her death. After numerous hospital visits, Ochanya would later succumb to her injuries and die on October 17, 2018, exactly 7 years ago. Official cause of death was ruled as complications from sexual abuse, and this caused public outrage. There were lots of human rights groups, women groups that protested and demanded that justice be served. And when Andrew was arrested, it seemed like something was going to be done. The police came in swiftly and arrested Andrew and Felicia, but Victor was nowhere to be found. He literally ran away. No one could find him. According to the court documents, he was at large. He never appeared to any court proceeding. Victor was nowhere to be found. Nobody literally knew where he was. Well, yeah, both Andrew and Felicia were charged, but in different courts. Andrew was charged with 4 counts of rape and culpable homicide, and the prosecution was seeking the death penalty according to the Nigerian Penal Code. Felicia was charged with failure to provide duty of care for a child in her protection. Now, Mr. Andrew is not an ordinary man. He is a lecturer from the Benue State Polytechnic in Makurdi. There are rumors that he is well connected, like he knows people in higher places, and he does not have a good reputation among students, among colleagues. People knew him as a notorious sexual harasser. In fact, other people came out to accuse him, so I'm going to use alleged because these people are anonymous. They granted interviews with Premium Time newspaper and they narrated their experiences with Mr. Andrew. A 30-year-old woman at the time, this was in 2019, speaking with Premium Time, said that Mr. Andrew told her that if she stopped him from sucking her breast, she should go and bury a live goat in her compound, which means that it's almost impossible. He's definitely going to find a way to sleep with her. Another person said, because of that man, I had to leave my results after graduating from the hotel and catering department in 2012. This first lady said that Mr. Andrew was a class advisor and she had an issue with her project supervisor. So to help her solve the issue that she had with her project supervisor, he allegedly called her into his office and was telling her that her project supervisor likes her and she's no different from other girls. And after she showed no interest in being in a relationship with neither Mr. Andrew or the project supervisor, he began to threaten her, and she was scared that she wasn't going to graduate or get a result, but she eventually was able to get a result and leave the school. Another woman who was married at the time when she was a student said that she almost did not graduate from school because of Mr. Andrew. She gave it to him to help her submit, but then when she went back to ask for this logbook, he denied that she never gave it to him. And according to her, in their school, you need a logbook for you to get your result to graduate. And at this time, I think she was pregnant or she was married. She went to go and meet him for a logbook, and then when they were in a closed environment, he began sending sexual advances to her, proposing things to her, and she turned him down. She was a married woman and she did not want to have anything to do with him. And this is typical behavior of a lecturer using his power and influence to control a student. After the back and forth with she and Mr. Andrew, she got frustrated and was ready to let go of the result. I was ready to let go of the course because she did not want to give in to his demands. A male student also came out to say that when they heard about Mr. Andrew's arrest, they were all happy because he did not have a good reputation. He also mentioned that he never directly punished the male students or never directly confronted them, but if he ever wanted to punish them, he would just tamper with their results or their exam scripts. So he was a notorious person. He had a very bad reputation, and there were rumors that he's connected to people that are in power. It's a rumor, it's unconfirmed. So the news of him getting arrested made a lot of people happy. There were also some women that came out to say that there were periods that they lived with the Ogbaji family, where they lived with Mr. Andrew, like Mr. Andrew's house, and they did not like him. They did not like him. And one woman said that she really wished she knew what was going on with Ochanya, and she would have done something, but she literally had no. Another student that lived in Mr. Andrew's house mentioned to Premium Times that allegedly that if they said he did this crime, she 100% believes. That's how bad his reputation is in the community. Now, you would think it stops there, but there is also an interaction with the victim's sister, that is Ochanya's sister, and Mr. Andrew. He also proposed sexual connotations or just wanted to sleep with her as well. This man is notorious. In fact, there's a voice recording of him telling her to come and meet him in a secluded part of his house. I'm going to play it here with transcription. I don't have to mention that this audio recording is an alleged conversation between Mr. Andrew and Ochanya's sister. Nothing has been confirmed, so I've got to use the word allegedly. But take this piece of information with a grain of salt. I can't confirm.
Hello. Hello. I'm still waiting on. Coach, you don't want to. Òtúndúdú ọmú tí ọlá kó gbòdìgbòdì ẹ̀ tí ọlá kó gbòdìgbòdì ẹ̀ kó. Ọlá tó dùn for no, I seen everywhere clear.
Not really. Ajala Muge Yagla. We just, me, I want to see you, but I want us to sit and talk.
Okay, come let's talk with you.
Not now, no, not this night, too. Somewhere, maybe outside this house.
Let's talk about Victor. At the time when Victor was essaying Ochanya, he was a university student. Remember, Ochanya was between the age of 8 to 13, so there was a considerable large age gap. Now, we do not know much about Victor, or we did not know a lot about him, but keep that in mind. I am coming back to Victor. Victor was the first abuser. He was the one that started it all. Now let's talk about Felicia. It said that Felicia, that's their mother, she worked in the public service. She was a public servant. There's also not a lot about her, but we know that she was an enabler. We know that she knew about the abuse and did nothing. She kept it on the low, and when Ochanya's mom kept on asking her what happened, she kept on mentioning that, oh, Ochanya is fine. There were no result, like the doctors could not find anything when it came to Ochanya's case. She is a terrible woman. And then there is Winifred, his daughter. At the time, not much was said about her. Okay, all we know is that she played a pivotal role in Felicia knowing about the abuse, that is reporting to an adult at the time. Let's go into the court process and the actual everything that went wrong and what riled people about this case, what the prosecution could have done better to ensure justice is served, and what is happening now. On October 10, 2019, the 54-year-old Mr. Andrew was arraigned before the Makurdi High Court, and he was charged with 4 counts of rape and culpable homicide. Now, there's something in law we called proving beyond reasonable doubt. What this means is that when a person accuses someone of a crime, this person has the burden to prove to the judge that the accused in fact committed the crime, clearing whatever doubts that may be. That means they must use every resources they have. They must turn every stones over to ensure and prove to the courts that this person did this. If there is in fact a single doubt in the judge's mind and not enough information is provided in the courts, well, the chances of the person winning the case is slim. That is what we call reasonable doubt, proving beyond reasonable doubt. Because in the eye of the law, everybody is innocent until proven otherwise. So in this case, the prosecution, that is the state, has the burden to prove that Andrew and Victor in fact raped Ochanya, and this led to her eventual death. Now, in this court, it is only Andrew that is facing the judge. It should have been Andrew and Victor, but at the time, Victor is at large. Till today, Victor is still at large, okay? Let's just keep that in mind. Victor is still at large, so only Andrew appeared in court. Okay? So these were the arguments the prosecution put forward, or these were the evidences the prosecution put forward. So the prosecution brought out 8 witnesses, and there's not a lot of details on who these witnesses are. A part of the witness was the journalist that I mentioned at the beginning of the video who interviewed Ochanya, where she narrated the ordeal. Now, that video was tendered in court, that is the victim's confession. But the prosecution relied on hearsay, and hearsay is not always admissible in court. You can't use it in court most of the time. There are exceptions, but in this case, it wasn't used or it wasn't admitted. Other witnesses that were brought to the stand were medical experts and police, but we're not going to really touch on that because they did not really provide as much. Now, the other evidence that was provided in the case, which greatly affected the case, was prosecution providing 2 medical reports. Now, one medical report comes from the police forensic people laboratory, and this result mentioned that Ochanya died as a result of the sexual related abuse. Okay. Meanwhile, the second one, which came from the Makurdi Medical Center, I believe, said Ochanya died from natural causes. So these are two conflicting medical reports. I do not know why the prosecution decides to bring two conflicting medical reports to the court, because it is only what you present to the judge that the judge would use to decide on the case. Doctors argued whether or not the vesico-vaginal fistula, that is the disease that Ochanya had, and the other infections was as a result of the chronic sexual abuse. This was a contention that wasn't resolved in the courts, which just ruined the case, in my opinion. In my opinion, it ruined the case. This move by the prosecution angered people, because some people were saying that why did they not just use the reports from the police autopsy or their lab? Or why did they not just get a forensic person, just one person, to determine this cause? If it was that it was the defense that brought in their own results, and then the prosecution brought in their results, it's different. But the prosecution brought in two conflicting results, which made no sense. In my humble opinion, it made no sense. They should have stuck to one, because it just ruined it was one of the things that ruined the case. Another thing that's kind of ruined the case was the witness testimony. Like I said, they relied on hearsay and did not totally rely on the evidence and the actual witnesses of this. Now, the interview with Ochanya was actually presented in court, which people are also blaming the judge for. Our confession was played in court, okay? But people were angry that the prosecution did not interview Winifred. Remember Winifred? Winifred is the sister of Victor, who caught Victor essaying Ochanya. She was never brought out to the witness stand. Now, let's look at it. People were saying that some people said the prosecution could not rely on Winifred's testimony, because remember, she is a sister, and if she retracts her statements, if she retracts the fact that she reported, it would greatly affect the case. So I can see why they did not bring in Winifred, but I still think Winifred's witness statement could greatly make this case be in the prosecution's favor. I don't know if you understand what I mean. But then again, it is a very, very tricky angle to go with, because if Winifred goes to the stand and changes her stance, mentions that she never reported or she never witnessed anything, the prosecution can no longer rely on, because they had mentioned it before that Winifred reported it to Felicia. But if she goes there and changes mouths, it's going to affect them. But I still genuinely believe they should have had Winifred on the stand as a witness. They should have had her, because she was a first person witness. She experienced it. She saw it happen. Another thing that greatly affected the prosecution. Remember, I said Winifred only caught Victor and did not catch Andrew in the act. And Victor is not in court right now. So Andrew was never placed on the scene via Winifred's statements. So the defense relied heavily on this. Some people said that if the prosecution had provided photos of the gradual deterioration of Ochanya while she was living with them, from her healthy state to when she started using diapers down to her death, it could have proved something. It could have been in the prosecution's favor, but that did not happen. Then I can't confirm this, let's just call this a rumor, but some reports said that the evidence wasn't handled properly. Some case files were missing. Evidence was not managed properly between the police, the Ministry of Justice, the hospital. Everything was just done anyhow. So this also would have greatly, like I said, it's a rumor. There are no confirmed, I can't confirm this. Another thing, when it comes to proving rape cases in Nigeria, it is highly, highly difficult. One of the things that you have to prove is that bodily fluids of the accused is found on the victim, and this was not proven. Another huge contention for this case was the lack of the use of the VAP Act. What is the VAP Act? It is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. It's a Nigerian law that is created to protect victims of rape, sexual assault, and other crimes. But this act is a federal law. And at the time this case happened, Benue had not domesticated the verb act. So the prosecution could not rely on the verb act to try Andrew and Victor for sexual related crimes. That was why they relied on the law that they used, which is 4 counts of sexual assault and culpable homicide. It's which was section 284 and section 285 of the penal code of Benue State. The medical contradictions again, the two different medical reports confused the judge, and the judge could not rely on this. And due to this, the judge stated that because, not verbatim, okay, but he stated that because of these two medical reports, he can't rely on one to ensure that there has been or to met out fair justice, quote and unquote. He can't rely on any of them because they're contradictory. But this was another thing he said that annoyed people. He said it's a shame that Ochanya was not alive to testify and to tell her own story. But you remember that I said that there's a video of Ochanya speaking out, narrating the crime, telling her story, and this was admitted in court. Even at the point during the process, the defense objected against that evidence, saying that it was not admissible because they did not know about it, but it was later dropped, thankfully. But this evidence was admitted in court. The judge took cognizance of it, but he still went back to say that Ochanya was not, that it's a shame that she's not alive, that she could not talk about her story or tell her story. Ultimately, the judge discharged and acquitted Andrew of their crimes. Now, this led to a major backlash. We had women group, human rights group, critics, journalists, everybody speaking out because of how insane it was. There were glaring evidences against these two people, but it wasn't enough to put them behind bars. What is mind-boggling is Andrew, the perpetrator of this crime, was acquitted and discharged in his criminal defense, in a criminal suit. While Felicia lost her case in a civil suit, she was convicted for negligence, that is lack of duty of care for a child that was in her protection. She knew that Ochanya was sexually assaulted by her son and her husband, and she did nothing. She was an enabler of the crime. The prosecution was able to prove that sexual assault happened, and then it led to the death of Ochanya. Something is not adding up. Now, there are rumors that Mr. Andrew is a very well-connected man, and he knows people in higher places, and that is why his case was thrown out, but he was acquitted. But Felicia right now is serving a sentence. She'll be released next year, 2027. Victor is still at large, but there have been sightings of him. Now, this case happened in Benue, but the sightings of him has been in Lagos. There are rumors that, but I don't think it's a rumor, it's actually confirmed that he works in the music industry. He's a manager of an artist named Roxy Lane, who has been receiving a lot of hate lately. People have been going to our comment section that she should review the venue or the location of Victor because he's back in hiding. And she has made a video saying that she honestly did not know about Victor's past, and she doesn't know where he is right now. His numbers are not going through, that he's only a manager, and she doesn't really know where he is. Now, there is a bounty on Victor's head. I saw that there is a 100k bounty for anybody who reviews his location. I saw another video, 250k. I saw another video, $1,000. Anybody that knows where Victor is should come out and receive the reward money. People are ready to go to war on behalf of Ochanya. For Andrew, I did not get a confirmed report of where he is right now, but there are unconfirmed rumors that he is back lecturing at the Benue State Polytechnic. I don't know how true this is. I just saw this in some comment section and on a blog. There are no official reports as to where Andrew is right now. But Victor is at large. Felicia is currently serving a sentence, which it's insane. The perpetrators are not serving any sentence. They went scot-free. But the enabler which is also a woman, is serving a sentence. 5 years is also short. It's also short. Okay, it is. Ochanya is literally dead because of the action of the adults around her. Finally, I think we're going to come back to Winifred. Now, there is a face to Winifred. Winifred is or was an active user of Twitter, and oh my god. Now, when I first started researching this case, I thought she was an innocent child caught up in this mix because she reported to adults at this point. But the tweets that have surfaced from Winifred's account is very, very shady. Now, there have been tweets of her promoting Victor's business, meaning that from back then, like the period where Victor has been missing, she always knew where he was. It was not like he just disappeared and disappeared from his parents as well. His family also knew where he was because people have been able to dig out Winifred's tweets promoting Victor's music business. Any and every sympathy or empathy people will had for Winifred has been thrown out the window when her old tweets surface. One of her tweets reads, "If a minor is raped, I don't perpetrate us at fault." Some of them wear revealing dress and are always pushing themselves to the perpetrator's neck, especially if they stay together. And this is insane. Looking at Ochanya's story, Ochanya stayed with the perpetrators for years, and this is what Winifred has to say. Now, our Twitter is currently blocked or protected, or she has privated her account. People cannot reach her. She obviously knows where Victor is and is keeping quiet. She's not, from the messages we've seen online, she's obviously not speaking with anybody. She's obviously not speaking to anybody about the case. She as well as probably, maybe let's say she has gone into hiding. But that is the current status of this case. A lot of people are online now clamoring that Ochanya's case be reopened. Now, this case came up again because of a TikToker. She came online to talk about the case. She actually came out to talk about it on October 17th, 2025, literally 7 years after Ochanya's death. And she read the case file and narrated it, and a whole Pandora box opened again. And people are on the hunt for Victor. Victor, wherever you are, if you are watching this video, you are going down. You are going down. Like I said, there is a bounty on their heads. So if you know any information about Victor, these are his pictures. Let us know. So that is where we are with the case right now. Let me know if I missed things, because it took me 2 nights to research this case and come and give you everything about this case that is probably not covered on the internet. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. You can donate money to causes for Ochanya's case, and there are petitions for the case to be reopened. Please sign the petition whenever you come across it. Keep speaking about Ochanya till the case is reopened. If you're a lawyer and you are really good at what you do, please be a part of this case. Work on the prosecution, assist in whatever way you can. Let us make a change with this case. Rape cases, sexual assault cases are barely reported in Nigeria, and even if they're reported, the convictions are very little. It barely happened. And this has been an ongoing trend in Nigeria for years now. For years. And we need to have a change for that in Nigeria. If you're not in Nigeria, you're watching this video, you can also share this video so that we can have international eyes on this case. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week in my next case.